racism has been impacting the WNBA well before this year. In that way, I do think Caitlyn's being used as a pawn. Caitlyn didn't bring racism to the WNBA. This has been happening. And that, I think, is what's been such a shock for all of us, that other people are surprised by this. We've been trying to tell you. I would have loved to have shut up and dribble. I would have been loved to have been spoken about just for my play. But nobody ever let us.
Tonight, WNBA legend Sue Bird finally speaks out, and it could change everything. She accuses the league of targeting Caitlin Clark. Is it jealousy? Is it racism? And what's Commissioner Kathy Engelbert's role behind the scenes? Buckle up.
So Sue Bird has been speaking out a bunch lately, bro. Which she always speak out, but it seems like she's speaking out a little more than usual, bro. So she spoke about the physicality of the league. Now we know the league is very physical, and to the sense, she spoke about the former players that's in the league actually wearing these bruises, like, scars and war wounds type stuff. Now
in a viral clip viewed over 2 million times, Sue Bird didn't hold back. She said it plainly. Caitlin Clark is being used as a pawn. This isn't new. This is a system problem. She went on to say that veterans in the league were never allowed to just play, and now that Clark is being targeted, suddenly fans are shocked. But for Bird and many others, this toxic undercurrent has been building for years.
Well, real quick, what did you notice about Caitlin's work ethic?
Yeah.
Was there anything that stood out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she was in the gym constantly.
Yeah.
And it was the way she approached everything too was it was with a sort of excellence. It wasn't oh, I'm just going to go through the motions and whatever. It was no, I'm here to kick your butt in every single drill, every single practice. And especially whenever our gray squad guys were playing against us, it was if you're across from me, you're my enemy, Right. And I think that's just kind of how you have to approach things to get better. And she had that, next level mindset, and it really just raised us all up with her.
Clark entered the league as superstar, but instead of being celebrated, she was ambushed. Veterans like Brittany Griner, Angel Reese, and even commentators like Chiny Aguamike questioned her spotlight. Fans saw it. Players saw it. Sue Bird saw it. And now she's calling it out. Some of these players aren't defending the game, they're defending their ego.
Sue Bird is now calling out Caitlin Clark's teammates because she believes Caitlin Clark's teammates have to do something. I've said this myself. Something has to happen in order to free up Caitlin Clark to be able to get some open looks. She's great at making sure everybody else gets great shots. All right? And she's pretty good at creating her own shot. But it seems and part of this too is Stephanie White in one of her failures. The inability to get open shots for your star.
At the center of the storm is Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. Her leadership, or lack of it, is being called into question. From silence during on-court attacks, to weak press releases, to allowing a culture of bullying to grow unchecked. Sue Bird says what fans are thinking. This is no longer leadership, it's control wrapped in press release jargon.
You gotta put it in perspective. Right. These girls have been grinding to grow the game of basketball in the WNBA. They've been grinding to grow the sport to the world, the viewerships. They've been grinding for all of this. And then you have this girl that comes along from college and is an instant change. She's handed pretty much being the face of the league. There's going to be girls that are offended by that. And there's going to be girls that think she's got to earn it and she doesn't deserve this early. She's handled it great. I think she's performed last year. She's performing again this year. I think she's the rightful face of the NBA.
Bird and others argue Engelbert is failing the league's brightest star. Instead of building a brand around Clark, she's throwing her into a PR meat grinder and calling it growth.
I was hoping that video I sent about Caitlin Clark getting fucked over yesterday too. God dang, dude. It wasn't that bad.
That was brutal.
Just she's purposely getting targeted, and I think you're 100% right. It's jealousy. There's nothing else. Nothing else it could be. It's nuts. It's nuts.
It's so weird. You really don't see that in the men's game, but it's not at this level. and it's not like that like on purpose.
Is it pure jealousy?
Clark has taken more hits this season than any WNBA rookie in the last decade. Elbows, hard screens, technical fouls, taunts, and all of it with little support from officials or leadership. As Bird puts it, if Caitlin blinks wrong, it's a press conference. If she gets elbowed in the face, it's part of the game.
I'll put her comment here. She was referencing Caitlin being picked up full court. A lot of her fandom fans, I guess that's what I'll call them, says that, if she's not like the greatest ever, why are people picking her up full court? And this former player is saying most scouting reports say when you pick someone up full court, it's because they typically turn the ball over and they're not the best dribbler. They don't like the pressure. As we have seen throughout Caitlin's pretty much her entire career, she has averaged not just a lot of turnovers, but more than any WNBA, NBA, NCAA, men or women ever.
If roles were reversed, Clark would be benched or suspended. But she endures it with grace, poise, and record-breaking performances. The WNBA is treating her like a threat, not an asset.
For a lot of America, Caitlin Clark is the hero, and everyone that flagrantly fouls her, speaks poorly of her, acts like she's not great, is the villain, and then vice versa. How big of a part of the story is that when you look at the conflict surrounding Caitlin Clark?
You would have thought that the arrival of this superstar in the WNBA would have been seen as what it is, which is the greatest thing to ever happen to the WNBA. So she arrives, and of course, my thought, a white woman from Iowa in a 74% Black league. That's an issue. And I look at the way players like Diana Taurasi, Brianna Stewart, Cheryl Swoops with her flurry of falsehoods, Cheryl Reeve, the Olympic coach, Gino Auriemma, really tried to minimize her.
Sue Bird also exposed how the league and media are enabling this toxic culture. Petty jealousies are now dressed up as competitive spirit. PR spin replaces accountability. And worst of all, the fans are being gaslit into thinking this is normal.
The WNBA needs to learn how to manage this, right? They need to learn how to not just manage this rivalry, because honestly, I think a lot of this is just some less talented bitches who are trying to do this as a way to offset their lesser skill. Caitlin Clark is a gifted player. All these ladies are good players. But it is really bad sportsmanship to be some jealous bees on the court like this. And I also think, I don't want to put race into it, but I think for some of them it is race. Like Brittany Griner, she's an embarrassment to Baylor University. She gets out there, she calls her oh, you blank and white girl, all that stuff. Please.
Clark is bringing millions of new fans. But the WNBA seems more interested in gatekeeping than growing. As Bird says, you don't grow a league by beating down its future.
So we're going to talk about it today. What's your thoughts on all of the hate that she getting?
So as far as the hate goes, a lot of it's just unjustified, because anytime you make a major jump from college to the next level, you're always going to have a little bit of struggles. It's a big culture shock. So I think that's one factor you got to put into it.
What you mean by culture shock?
Now, if you watch most kids play now, what are they trying to do?
Shoot threes. Yeah, they try to shoot from 30 and look away for it go in the rim.
Because of how Steph Curry affected the youth, because of how he was shooting. Now you're having a lady who is showing women, hey, you can shoot from this distance. And now what that's going to do is that's going to create the younger youth also showing, shoot, I'm going to go shoot like...
Bird's words weren't just criticism, they were a warning. She says if the WNBA doesn't clean up its act, it risks losing fans, sponsors, and stars. Caitlin Clark's upcoming signature Nike shoe, her All-Star debut, and her expected Team USA call-up will only turn up the pressure.
This is a public announcement. I need everybody to stop what they're doing and listen up. As we watch the WNBA every day because of the way they play the game, because I love the WNBA, I love the way they play the game, but we really watch it because Caitlin Clark and everybody watching. Now listen, if y'all keep bumping her, knocking her down, might get her a concussion, you might hurt her for real. For 2 weeks, she was done with like a hamstring. She was down. 55% of the viewership was down. She comes back the next game, it's about 3 million viewers. Now let me tell you something. Growing up in the hood, they teach you this. Always protect the money.
Bird is right. This isn't just a player under attack, it's a league at a crossroads. Will they elevate Clark or exile her? The next few months will determine the future of women's basketball.
Caitlin Clark finished 9th in player voting. In fact, she finished behind one of her own teammates in player voting for the All-Star game. The pettiness has no bounds. But it's interesting. For years, the WNBA players were pointing fingers. They were saying people are sexist, the media is sexist, we're not being promoted, we're underappreciated. And then they get the golden goose and they don't like what it looks like. Iowa girl, Indiana girl. Well, who knows? And I've said this for years. When the wave hits, ride it. You don't know what it looks like.
The silence is broken. After weeks of controversy, bruises, and backdoor politics, WNBA legend Sue Bird has finally spoken. And what she revealed has stunned the league. The truth? Caitlin Clark isn't just being targeted, she's being sacrificed, weaponized, used as a pawn in a game far bigger than basketball. What Bird just said about the league, about Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, and about Caitlin Clark is something the WNBA hoped would never see daylight. Buckle up. This isn't just drama, this is a full-blown reckoning. Caitlin Clark burst onto the scene record-breaking rookie, igniting viewership and rewriting the WNBA narrative. But every Cinderella story has its critics, and Clark faced intense physical play, fouls, and whispers of jealousy from veterans. Enter Sue Bird, four-time WNBA champion, basketball royalty. On her podcast, She Made Waves. Caitlin didn't bring racism to the WNBA. She's being used as a pawn. Bird also argued that the league's celebrated tough play isn't something players actually want. It's enabled by referees letting physicality spiral. Then came race. Clark's rapid rise and predominantly white fanbase sparked claims of double standards. Alyssa Thomas and Angel Reese called out racist comments from some Fever fans. Sue Bird was blunt. Racism has been impacting the WNBA well before this year. The Clark saga was just the latest flashpoint. Behind the scenes, longtime referees, coaches, and veteran players sense a shift. Sue Bird suggests Commissioner Kathy Engelbert may be fueling rivalries instead of calming the storm. The increased targeting of Clark, from full-court presses to questionable non-calls, feels orchestrated, and some say the WNBA's leadership isn't protecting its biggest asset. Sue Bird warned, this isn't just drama, it's a reckoning. If Caitlin Clark is scapegoated, the league risks losing not just a standout athlete, but Commissioner Engelbert's next moves? Will she double down on dramatic narratives or pivot toward unity and growth? This is more than games. It's race, power, respect, and responsibility. As Sue Bird says, if you don't manage the star, you lose the star. The WNBA stands at a crossroads. Will they rise or implode? Comment below. Is Sue Bird right? Should the WNBA protect Clark more aggressively? Like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Don't miss updates.